So honored to be here. So growing up, I have access to a program like Girls right now. So for many years, my mentors were the writers I read, writers like Marie. Then about a decade ago, I heard her speak about poetry and the writing life, and I was so inspired that I walked up to her afterward, introduced myself, and asked if she'd have coffee with me. Thank you for saying yes, Marie, and for becoming a real-life mentor and friend. And thank you for honoring me tonight. So I've loved a good story my entire life, and I think it's in my DNA. My dad, who's here tonight, grew up in Tunisia. His parents never learned to read or write, but storytelling was always sacred in our family. When he was 8 and bedridden with polio, the women in his life sat around his bed spinning tales to distract him from his pain and to heal him. That's how powerful they believed stories to be. I too found solace in stories. From the time I could hold a pen, I was always scribbling away in a journal. And as the kid who showed up on the first day of kindergarten, not speaking a word of English, I felt like a perpetual misfit. But through writing, I found a sense of safety and possibility. It gave me a home inside myself when I didn't quite fit anywhere else. I didn't get to put my writing on display until the 8th grade, when my beloved English teacher gave us an extra credit assignment to write a short story. And I went a bit overboard. I spent spring break furiously filling up an entire yellow legal pad with a 50-page novella. I was so proud when I handed in my novella, and then I waited on pins and needles for my first official literary review. A week later, everyone got their assignments back. Everyone except me. I imagined my teacher was waiting to pull me aside one-on-one, and I was expecting fanfare and probably widespread publication. Instead, I was summoned to meet with a very different figure. The school psychologist was holding my novella. They say, write what you know. But in 8th grade, I didn't have much to draw from. So I leaned onto some of my recent reading inspiration. The North African intrigues of Paul Bowles and Nabokov's Lolita. So naturally, my protagonist was a 13-year-old opium-smoking prostitute in a brothel in Tangier. Now, I can laugh about it, but at the time, I felt so deeply humiliated. As girls, we're taught to be good, and I felt I had done something bad. I thought that meant something was wrong with me, not just with my writing, but with me. And that's one of the earliest lessons so many of us learn as girls, that telling the truth can get you in trouble. That if your imagination colors outside the lines, you have to rein it in. It was a long time before I dared show my writing to anyone, until my freshman year of college, when I eagerly applied to the creative writing program. I was rejected, and I took that as further proof that I wasn't a writer. So I tried to settle for practical plans instead, and I set my sights on maybe law school, something that would offer me a steady job. But about a year after graduation, I was diagnosed with leukemia, and all of those plans imploded. Stuck in a hospital bed, I felt like my life was over before it had really begun. And yet, something unexpected happened. With nowhere to go and nothing to prove, I felt oddly free. Free to follow my curiosity and to create for myself without any end goal in mind. I began journaling, then blogging from the front lines of my hospital bed, because I couldn't find stories like mine anywhere. And And looking back, I realized I was taking Toni Morrison's advice. If there's a book you want to read and it doesn't exist yet, then you must write it. Writing gave structure to my days and helped me reclaim a sense of agency at a time when I had to surrender so much. And somewhere in the process, I realized something essential. While writing won't save your life, it might just show you how to live it. Eventually, a blog post I wrote went viral, and an editor at the New York Times reached out and asked if I'd like to write an essay. Instead, I suggested a weekly column and also maybe a video series. To pre-diagnose me, this pitch would have felt wildly presumptuous, especially given that I'd never been published before. But when the stakes are literally life and death, rejection suddenly doesn't seem so scary. And for the first time, I was articulating what I actually wanted. But wanting isn't enough. You have to be audacious enough to trust your own vision, to follow it past the limits of what seems possible. And maybe that's what every creative act is, an act of daring. And by the way, the editor said yes to both the column and video series. 15 years later, I'm still writing. And there are so many forces that can quash your creative impulse. The voices that tell you that what you're doing is frivolous, unworthy, or even dangerous. The voices inside that whisper, be practical, be realistic, be good. But writing is a kind of alchemy. It lets me transform whatever plagues me, be it illness, rejection, or fear, into creative grist, into gold. A creative practice gives us the power to reimagine what's possible and to become who we aren't yet brave enough to be. That's why I love Girls Right Now so much, and why I've partnered with this incredible organization to establish the Alchemy Fund. Because the world doesn't just need more writers, it needs more girls who know how to tell their own stories on their own terms, who can turn what breaks their hearts into light. So to every mentee, every young writer here tonight, don't wait for permission or for proof you're ready. Start with what you have, your pen, your voice, the story only you can tell. That's all the magic you need. Thank you.